Hi, I'm Jen Long, Creative Director at Sizzix, and I'm here to share some of our embossing folders and the different techniques you can use with them. Embossing folders provide an emboss and a deboss on your cardstock and other surfaces, and it's a great way to add a multimedia technique to your different projects. So let's just take a quick look at how we use our embossing folders. You go ahead and use tab 1 on our Big Shot machine. We have our surface right in between our embossing folder. Put a cutting pad on the bottom and the top of your embossing folder, our Sizzix sandwich, and we're just going to run that right through the machine. And once we take this out, you can see the way that we've created an embossed design. Creating texture and dimension is such a popular technique when you're crafting, and this is just the perfect way to either express a sentiment or give an all-over design as a background pattern. So not only do our embossing folders work on cardstock, but they work on a variety of different materials like vinyl, paper leather. I have some paper leather here, and for those of you not familiar with paper leather, this is a very exciting surface that Sizzix produces. It's really pliable and durable. You can actually wash it, stitch it, stamp on it, die cut it, paint on it. It's almost indestructible, but yet it's sensitive enough to be die cut and embossed. So let's go ahead and take a look at embossing on paper leather. And I just have this little pre-cut piece of paper leather in my tiny little border embossing folder here. And that's another great aspect of embossing folders is the variety of sizes that we make. So I'll just take this out and you can see how that just embossed beautifully and gave a really beautiful flower impression all the way down this strip of paper leather. But if we wanted to take a little further and add some inking technique to it, which I do, I'm just going to take this blending tool, I'm going to grab a little bit of ink, and I'm just going to run it over the top of where I embossed on my paper leather. And that's going to help me make my embossing stand out even more, but just again, also add another multimedia technique and take that even further. How pretty is that? Another great way to take embossing further is to cut it out using a piece of paper that has white core to it. So I have this piece of paper inserted into this additional sized embossing folder, and I'm going to run this through the machine. And when I take it out, I'm just going to take a piece of sandpaper and lightly sand on top of all the raised edges, and you can see the white core of that paper start to show through and actually embellish what's been embossed even further. And all these techniques are very quick and easy, yet they're very visually impactful. So it helps you take your embossing folder library a step even further. One more technique that I want to share with you guys is actually applying ink to the embossing folder itself. So for this technique, I'm going to use a brayer tool. And I'm going to feel on my embossing folder, and I'm going to feel for the side that is raised. And I'm going to go ahead and put ink on my brayer. And you're always going to want to roll your brayer in the same direction when you're applying ink to it. And look at this. I'm just going to roll this right onto my embossing folder. All that ink will just wash off with some mild soap and water. Now I'm going to put my piece of paper leather again inside the folder. I'm going to close that up. And I'm going to run this through the machine. And this is giving us not only the look of emboss, but also is giving you an ink transfer at the same time. And we can open this up and see how pretty that is. So this is debossed and inked together. So these are just a few of the techniques that help you take embossing a step further. Whether you're using a large grouping of embossing folders or pairing it with paper leather, I think everybody will really enjoy it.